Jessica, this I had envisioned our getaway as the perfect retreat from daily monotony, a chance to rekindle the passion between Mark and me. The city shimmered with life, and our laughter wove through the air like a melody. Everything felt effortless, intoxicating. But as the night unraveled, I found myself in a situation beyond my imagination. Mark, wearing that ever-mischievous grin, reached for a silk blindfold, gently covering my eyes. I trusted him. I always had. But when the fabric slipped away, I wasn't alone with my husband anymore. Tom and Alex stood before me, their intentions unmistakable. My breath hitched. Mark merely watched, silent, unreadable. What was going through his mind? Why wasn't he stopping this? The air in the room crackled with an unfamiliar tension. I stood at the precipice of something I wasn't sure I should step into. The boundary between fidelity and temptation wavered, and I had to choose, retreat or embrace the unknown. A thrill coursed through my veins, quick and hot. I'm Jessica, 26 years old, living a life that, on the surface, looks like a dream pulled from the pages of a magazine. I've been married to Mark for 3 years, and to the world, we are the couple everyone admires. Mark, with his magnetic presence, can command any room, making each person feel like the center of the universe. His closest friends, Tom and Alex, are more like family. Tom's laughter is infectious, a constant source of light-hearted energy, while Alex, the quiet and observant one, exudes a loyalty that runs as deep as ancient roots. This weekend was one of Mark's brilliant ideas. A trip not just for relaxation, but an escape to a city renowned for its vibrant nightlife and breathtaking skyline. The plan was simple. Leave behind routine, explore, indulge, and deepen our connection through adventure and shared memories. As we packed, Mark's excitement was palpable. He spoke of hidden gems we would stumble upon, exotic flavors we'd savor, and unforgettable moments we'd carry home. His enthusiasm was contagious, pulling us all into his vision. But nothing could have prepared me for how this journey would unfold. A road trip with close friends. What could possibly go wrong? The drive began with lively chatter and endless laughter, the car buzzing with energy. Mark, ever the navigator, had meticulously planned our route, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of adventure. Tom, sprawled in the back seat, was already mapping out our first stop for drinks, while Alex sat beside me, quiet yet content, his gaze distant as he watched the world blur past. The road stretched endlessly ahead, a dark ribbon guiding us away from the mundane. Mark reached over, his fingers entwining with mine, a reassuring squeeze that sent warmth spiraling through me. Laughter filled the space, the kind that made your chest ache and your spirit feel light. When we finally pulled into a roadside diner, nostalgia washed over me. Neon signs flickered above, casting a warm glow over the worn vinyl booths. The scent of strong coffee and fresh pie filled the air. Tom, never one to resist indulgence, insisted on sampling every dessert on the menu, while Alex, ever composed, watched our antics with an amused smirk, his eyes reflecting the shifting neon hues. We swapped stories, each one more ridiculous than the last, our voices weaving into the hum of the jukebox and the clinking of silverware against porcelain. By the time we reached the city, the skyline welcomed us like an intimate embrace. Our hotel, nestled away from the bustling heart of town, exuded an air of quiet seclusion, a place meant for whispered secrets and stolen moments. The dimly lit lobby, all dark wood and soft glow, promised both luxury and discretion. That first night, we surrendered to the pulse of the city. The clubs were alive with color and sound, bodies moving in harmony to the hypnotic rhythm of the music. Mark never strayed far, his gaze lingering on me, ensuring I was swept into the night's enchantment. We danced, lost in the moment, the world around us fading into an intoxicating blur. Drinks flowed freely, burning on the way down, but leaving a pleasant warmth in their wake. The thrill of anonymity, of being away from the familiar, only heightened the experience. With Mark's attention fixed solely on me, I felt like the center of the universe. The next day unfolded with the usual sightseeing adventures, picturesque views, bustling streets, and culinary delights. But beneath the surface, something lingered, a subtle undercurrent I couldn't quite name. And as night fell once more, I found myself at a crossroads I never anticipated. We spent the day immersing ourselves in the city's rich culture, visiting its renowned landmarks, capturing endless photos, and laughing over trinkets that cost far more than they were worth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, stretching long shadows over the cobblestone streets, I began to sense a shift in Mark. His easy laughter with Tom and Alex felt strained, their conversations laced with an air of secrecy that unsettled me. By the time we returned to the hotel, Mark's demeanor had completely changed. With a teasing smile and a glint of mischief in his eyes, he led me into our room. "Trust me," he murmured, as he gently tied a silk scarf over my eyes. The soft fabric against my skin sent a shiver through me, a blend of excitement and an unplaceable unease. When the blindfold was finally lifted, the room was illuminated by flickering candlelight. Rose petals were strewn across the bed, painting a picture of romance straight out of a novel. Yet, something was off. This wasn't the intimate moment I had imagined. Instead, Mark sat back in a chair, his expression unreadable. Then, to my shock, Tom and Alex stepped into the room. Their presence caught me completely off guard. As they approached, their intentions became unsettlingly clear, gentle yet assured. Their hands traced along my arms with an unsettling familiarity, sending a jolt of shock through me. I turned to Mark, expecting him to put an end to this, to pull me back into his embrace. But he didn't move. He only watched, his gaze unwavering, his expression impassive. What was he thinking? Why wasn't he stopping this? My mind spun with unanswered questions, a tempest of confusion and curiosity. His silence wasn't what I had expected. If anything, he seemed intrigued. The only sound in the room was the whisper of fabric and hushed voices. The air felt dense with an unspoken understanding, a boundary teetering on the edge of collapse. I could feel their touch, hesitant yet growing bolder, stirring a cocktail of emotions within me. Mark's gaze remained fixed on mine, searching. Was he looking for fear, consent, or something far more complex? The situation felt surreal, as if I had wandered into a forbidden dream, where the rules of reality no longer applied. As if emboldened by Mark's stillness, Tom and Alex continued. Their movements grew more confident, sending a confusing mix of betrayal and anticipation through me. My pulse thundered as my emotions clashed in a storm of hesitation and temptation. Finally, Mark broke his silence, his voice steady and measured. "I ask your decision. You can stop this whenever you want." His words felt both like reassurance and a test. Was this some twisted way of measuring the strength of our bond? The walls of the room seemed to close in, the atmosphere thick with tension. My eyes searched his face, desperate for a sign of what he truly wanted. But his expression remained unreadable. Tom's touch was sure, his hands skilled in a way that suggested this was not unfamiliar territory for him. His actions were at once soothing and unsettling, mirroring the paradox of the entire moment. Meanwhile, Alex, the usually reserved one, whispered soft words of encouragement, his voice melting into the candlelit haze. I stood frozen between the unwavering warmth of Mark's gaze and the unfamiliar thrill of the unknown. My heartbeat drummed in my ears, not just from the physical sensations, but from the whirlwind of emotions pulling me in opposite directions. Mark's silence felt deafening. It was as though he was waiting for me to choose, to shape the direction of this night. His calm, almost expectant expression made it seem as if he had orchestrated this moment, anticipating my reaction long before I even understood it myself. I felt like I was standing on the edge of something vast and uncharted, the line between commitment and exploration dissolving before my eyes. The tension in the room crackled like electricity in the air before a storm. My breath caught as I realized the weight of the choice before me. Would I take that step into the unknown, or would I retreat, pulling myself back from the precipice? Mark's unwavering eyes stayed locked on mine, waiting. The air was thick with anticipation, every touch from Tom and Alex deliberate yet unyielding. Each movement posed an unspoken question, my thoughts racing through the maze of possibilities. Was this truly what Mark desired? More importantly, was this what I wanted? The room, once a haven of intimacy, now felt like a stage for an unfolding scene I had never anticipated. Drawing in a slow breath, the fragrance of roses mixed with the undeniable tension that swirled around us. The atmosphere was electric, charged with something far beyond simple desire. As the moment stretched, I made my choice. I surrendered to it, allowing events to unfold, driven by a combination of curiosity, longing, and the need to understand Mark's intentions. Tom and Alex's touch became bolder, their hands mapping new territory with both confidence and restraint. My body reacted instinctively, a shiver betraying the storm of emotions within me. Across the room, Mark watched, his expression shifting from unreadable to something disturbingly close to satisfaction. The experience felt surreal, pleasure tinged with the unsettling realization that my husband wasn't merely permitting this but relishing it. The climax of the night was more than just physical. It shattered the foundation of what I had believed our marriage to be. Mark's silence was deafening, his quiet enjoyment a stark contrast to the man I had thought I knew. The warmth I had always found in his gaze had transformed, now reflecting something darker, almost possessive. Tom's fingers traced a line of my jaw, his touch simultaneously gentle and demanding. Alex's hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer, anchoring me in the moment. The candlelight flickered, elongating shadows along the walls, as if the room itself bore witness to our unraveling story. Heat coursed through me, tangled with confusion and an undeniable pull toward the unknown. A storm of conflicting thoughts raged in my mind. Was this truly what Mark wanted? Did I? The physical sensations were undeniable, sweeping me deeper into an experience I never could have foreseen. Then, Mark's voice sliced through the haze, his tone steady, but carrying an undercurrent I couldn't quite define. Jessica, the choice is yours. You can end this at any moment. His words felt like both a lifeline and a challenge. Was this an exploration of trust, a test of our limits? The walls of the room seemed to close in, the air heavy with expectation. My eyes sought Mark's, desperate for a hint of his true feelings, but his face remained a mask of calm indifference. Tom's movements suggested familiarity, an assurance that told me he had played this role before. His touch was paradoxical, both soothing and unsettling. Meanwhile, Alex, usually the quiet observer, whispered soft reassurances, his voice merging with the ambient glow of candlelight. Suspended between Mark's intense gaze and the unfamiliar thrill coursing through me, my heart pounded, not just from the sensations, but from the sheer weight of the moment. Mark's silence carried an unspoken expectation. It was as though he had orchestrated this encounter, waiting to see what I would do next. His expression revealed nothing, but the set of his jaw and the way his eyes tracked my every movement told me he was assessing, measuring. The night had pushed us to an unknown precipice, and now the choice was mine, step over or retreat. The tension hung thick, crackling like lightning before a storm. My breath hitched as I realized the gravity of this night. Would I embrace the unknown, or withdraw from the precipice before me? Mark's unwavering gaze never left mine, waiting. By morning, the room stood in stark contrast to the night before, tangled sheets, scattered petals, and a silence that was almost suffocating. Mark sat by the window, his back to me, lost in thought. I hesitated before approaching, my pulse thrumming with a mix of regret and confusion. He turned at the sound of my footsteps, his face betraying a rare hint of vulnerability. "I needed to know," he admitted, his voice low. "I wanted to see if you would choose us, even in the face of something unconventional. I needed to understand if our love could withstand anything." His confession was both a relief and a burden. This had been more than a night of blurred lines. It had been a test, a challenge neither of us had truly prepared for. We were left standing at a crossroads, unsure whether this experience had fractured us beyond repair or granted us a deeper understanding. I sank onto the seat beside him, the cold glass of the window pressing against my skin a mirror to the chill in my chest. The night before felt like a dream, where the definitions of love and loyalty had been distorted by shadowed desire. Mark reached for my hand, his touch hesitant, almost apologetic. I know it was overwhelming, Jessica. I never intended for it to go this far, but I had to know if we could explore without losing each other. Outside, the city stirred, the sounds of early morning life a distant hum against the turmoil in my mind. "And what did you learn?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He exhaled, searching my face. "That our love is stronger than I imagined, but trust isn't just about faithfulness. It's about understanding our deepest desires, fears, and limitations." I looked away, the city skyline blurring behind unshed tears. The betrayal I felt wasn't just from the events of the night, but from Mark's silent observation, the feeling of being tested rather than trusted. Mark sighed, the weight of his choices evident in his posture. I never meant for it to feel like a test. I just wanted to see if we could expand our world together, not apart. The silence between us stretched, burdened by all that remained unspoken.